All right, 3.6, I guess, more linear relationships, starting on page 53. It says look for a growing pattern. So what do you notice about going from figure 1 to figure 2 to figure 3? Describe the pattern you see. Okay, and then there are a couple questions here on the back page. So again, not a big fan of the way they got it spaced out. But some things you see, it looks like the square that is orange here goes from 1 to 4 to 9. The blues, I'll make note, that goes from 3 to 6 to 9. And the reds go from 1 to 3. All right, let's look at the questions now. If your pattern continues growing in the same way, how many tiles of each color will be in the fourth and fifth diagram? How about the 10th? All right, well, the fourth. So if you look at the orange, remember the orange ones went from 1 to 4 to 9. So the next one would be a 4 by 4 square, so that would be 16 yellow. If I remember right, the blue went from 3 to 6 to 9. So the next one would be 12. And the reds went from 1 to 2 to 3, so that would be 4. So it would be 16, 12, and 4. The fifth would be, let's see, a 5 by 5 square at the beginning, so that'd be 25. Blues are increasing by 3. Reds are increasing by 1. 10th. So now we'd have a 10 by 10 square to start off in yellow, so that would be 100 yellow. Let's see. Blues have been proportional, adding 3s each time. So since that's proportional, like here I'm not adding the same amount each time. So blue is adding the same amount each time. So I can just double what we had in 5. So that'd be 30 blue. And here I'm adding 1 each time. So again, I can just double this one as well. The key was to know that the yellows were not proportional. And you'll see why here when we answer the next one. How many tiles of each color will be in the nth diagram? That means it's true for no matter what number you do. So if you notice, on the yellow, the first one was 1, second one was 4, third one was 9, fourth is 16, 5 is 25, 10 was 100. So what are you doing to these numbers to get these? Hopefully you're saying you are squaring it. You're taking 4 squared, 4 times 4, 5 times 5, 10 times 10. So if it's the nth diagram, I'm going to take n times n squared. And again, remember, if it has an exponent, it is not proportional from previous lessons. So that is another reason we can tell it's not proportional. That's why I couldn't just simply double the yellow. Okay, the blue, again, what am I taking this number times to get the blue? Hopefully you can see that that is 3 times n. And then red, it is whatever that number is how many red I have. So red is just n. Question number 2, it says your teacher will give you 6 cards with graphs and a situation. Match each one. So I'm going to put a couple up here just so you can see them. So they are each going to have a match. So I'm going to give you, well, let's go situation D. So I'll give you a second to read that one. And I'm going to give you situation B. So let me find the graphs. Each graph will go with the other. And again, I'm just going to do 2 just because then it'll fit on the screen. So see if you can match those. Maybe they're together, maybe they go crossways. Hopefully you can see them good enough to to tell. Let's just look at B first. It's smaller, I guess. Graph represents the perimeter y of a square whose side length is x and the slope is 4. So if the slope is 4, remember that means we're going up 4 to the right 4. I guess if the side length is x, we could check it. So if the side length is 1, would it make sense that the perimeter is 55? Or if the side length is 1, would the perimeter of a square be a little less than 5? If the perimeter of each side is 2, or each side is 2, would the perimeter be around 8? 3, around 12? So looks like those two are just switched around. Obviously 0 would be 0 for perimeter. Here you're talking about a savings account. 15 is the slope, so up 15 to the right 1. Looks like that's certainly feasible. Let's see, it says he starts his piggy bank off with money, so he's not starting with 0, he's starting his account with some money here. It looks like in this case it's 40. So let's answer a couple questions here. Let's just choose the bank one. Okay, it says, how can you find the slope? Okay, so how can we find the slope of 3? Well, it tells us right here, the slope is 15 and goes up 15 to the right 1. So that's pretty simple. It gave us to us in the problem. What does the slope mean in this situation? Okay, so it's talking about the money he adds to his bank account. So with the 15 there, that means he's adding $15 every month. $15 a month he is adding to his account. Question C, find the point where it crosses vertical axis. So that'd be right here at 0.40. What does that mean? Well, that means before he started at all, he started with 40 bucks. That must be how much money he saved in his piggy bank before he started helping his neighbor out. So makes sense. Let's go to one more set. So I'll give you here a couple graphs first. Give you one that's proportional and one is not. So I'll give you graph 2 and 5. I'll find the matching situations here. Situation E and situation A. So just looking at those again, Elena adds a quarter to a piggy bank every day. Graph represents the number of dollars in a piggy bank by Y. X is the X days, and the slope is 0.5. So up 0.5 to the right 1, up 0.25 to the right 1, up 0.25 to the right 1. So I expect to see some smaller numbers. Probably not going to be this one. When you're talking small numbers, that one goes pretty high. This one, Lynn's dad bought a tablet. He pays the same amount each month for a subscription to a movie streaming service. How much money he spent Y, so how much money is going up and down. X months, and the slope of the line is 10. So up 10 to the right 1, up 10 to the right 1, up 10 to the right 1. Certainly couldn't be this one. Up 10 to the right 1. Up 10 would almost, be right here. Up 10, right 1. Certainly off the graph here. So these are just simply switched. No, they were right. Excuse me. This is the one that has slope of 10. Up 10, right 1. Up 10, right 1. We said this one couldn't be that. So they are perfect as they are. So again, let's look at one. Right here. What's the slope in this problem? It is 10. Y increases by 10 for every month of service, $10 for every month of service. Answered 2 and 3 there, I guess. Is it proportional? Of course it is not. It doesn't go through the origin. And how about the vertical axes? Why is it at 40 here, do you think? Any ideas? Okay, so we don't have to pay for a monthly service here when we buy something, right? So you buy a tablet or an iPhone or whatever, you're going to have a payment for that first before you get charged per month. So Lynn's dad bought a tablet, so that is the cost of the tablet, $40. And then at the next month, it cost him $40 for a tablet plus, and then $10 for service, and then another $10, another $10. You only have to buy the tablet once. All right, next question, question 3. All right, just to see who's all watching here, I would like you to put a little star around that 6 on that page right there. So we're on page 55. Put a little star around that. We're on the 11-minute mark, making sure you're not sleeping and you're still paying attention. All right, let's look at the question. Lynn has a summer reading assignment. And after reading 30 pages, she plans to read 40 a day until she finishes. She makes the following graph to track her reading progress. After 1 day, Lynn reaches page 70. That's marked right there. After 4 days, she reaches page 190, which does not match the point that is on the graph. Lynn is not sure what went wrong, since she knows she followed her reading plan. So where did Lynn make a mistake? All right, so it says sketch a line showing Lynn's original plan on the axes. Okay. Well, how many pages did she read right away? 30 pages, right? So she read 30 before we started. 30 should be right here. Should be right there. Next day, it reads 40 pages, so 170. That looks fine. Day 2, another 40 pages added on. It should be 2 and 110. 3 days and another 40 pages, so that should be 3 and 150. So here's what the graph should have looked like. What does a vertical intercept mean in this situation? So the vertical intercept, the Y-intercept, I would call that, the Y-axis intercept. So what does 0:30 mean on this situation? It means that she read 30 pages prior to tracking her assignment, prior to graphing it. What does the slope mean in this situation? So what is the slope? Okay, well, the slope of the line that she drew, let's look. 160 minus 70 is 90. 4 minus 1 is 3, so the slope of hers would have been 30. Okay, that means 30 pages a day. That's not correct. That's why her graph is all messed up. We know that she read 40 pages a day. We can check that on our graph. Pick any 2 points on our line we drew. We can do 110 minus 70 is 40. 2 minus 1 is, of course, 1. So there should be our slope. Slope should be 40. Notice 40 is steeper. We're reading more pages than what Lynn's graph is. This is correct. 40 pages per day. 40 pages per day. Give you a little extra time to work here. We'll just skip that one today. We will skip the Are You Ready? Okay, new term, it's called the vertical intercept. Most of the time, it's called the Y-intercept. It does have that there as well. That means where does it cross the y-axis? So if it ever asks you for the y-intercept, where does it cross this line is what it's asking you. Front number would always be 0 on this type of graph, and then the second point, in this case, it looks like it would be 0, 10. This one would be 0, 20. And obviously makes a big difference, as you saw in the last couple of problems. So your homework is going to be on page 58, 59, and 60. I want to talk a little bit about that, and then you'll have the rest of the hour to work here. Lesson 6, practice problem. Start on page 58. Explain what the slope and intercept mean in each equation. So basically 3 questions I would like to see answered here. What is the slope? And what does it mean in this situation? So like when we did the Lin one, we gave the slope and then we said it meant 40 pages per day. That's what it's asking for when it says what does it mean. And then what is the y-intercept? Okay, this one gives it to you. Most of them do. So what is the y-intercept? And of course, then I would like to know what that means as well. So since we already wrote all over the first one here, let's do that together. Graph represents a perimeter y in units. For an equilateral triangle with side length of x, the slope is 3. And the y-intercept is 0. So if you want to graph this, you certainly can. It says y is the perimeter. And this would be the side length, so we're talking triangle. So you could figure out that the equilateral triangle with side length of 1 would have a perimeter of 3 sides on a triangle. Side length of 2, equilateral triangle, perimeter would be 6, and so on. Okay, y-intercept is 0. So there's a very rough sketch and bad graph here. But what does the slope of 3 mean in this problem? Okay, why is it up 3 to the right 1, up 3 to the right 1? Okay, so every time you increase side length by 1, the perimeter increases by 3. Y-intercept, 0. What does that mean? 0 side lengths, side length of 0, 0 perimeter. Don't have any sides, how can you have a perimeter? Okay, question 2. Graph shows relationship between the number of cups of flour and the number of cups of sugar in Lynn's favorite brownie recipe. Table shows Noah's favorite recipe. And then it gives you some questions about Noah and Lynn. How much flour do each of them need? How much sugar do each of them need? I think you can handle those. Just remember, this one is Lynn, second one is Noah. And only the third and final question. Again, what does the slope mean in this problem? Using this information about a gym membership. And what does the y-intercept mean in this problem? So not too bad today, and those 3 questions, that'll be due tomorrow.